إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم في سبيل الله ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون لو كان عرضا قريبا وسفرا قاصدا لاتبعوك ولكن بعدت عليهم الشقة وسيحلفون بالله لو استطعنا لخرجنا معكم يهلكون أنفسهم والله يعلم إنهم لكاذبون عفى الله عنك لما أذنت لهم حتى يتبين لك الذين صدقوا وتعلم الكاذبين عفى الله عنك الذين صدقوا وتعلم الكاذبين. لا يستأذنك الذين يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر أن يجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم والله عليم بالمتقين. صدق الله العظيم. صلوات.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for commencing today's proceedings in this year's Muharram lecture series with that beautiful recitation, Brother Muhammad. It's beginning to feel familiar, as I was mentioning. So, and we all know the crowds will grow as the nights go on as well. So it's lovely to be back. And you may be familiar. There's some quick housekeeping. So in the case of emergency, the fire exits are located at the back of the chapel, the main entrance outside the chapel, and the double doors by the dining room. Washroom facilities are also located just outside of the dining room. I'm really glad to announce that there's a parallel children's workshop on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of July for reception children to Year 6 alongside the main Muharram programs here. The workshops will focus on creating a mural on the lessons learned from Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Surah Fajr. Hopefully we'll all able to kind of see that at some point. But to register your child's attendance, you have to visit ami.is/Muharram-kids. So ami.is/Muharram-kids. These programs cannot be organized without your attendance, but also the support of our donors, some of who have sponsored this lecture series, and some of those donations have been made on behalf of those who cannot be with us. We've displayed their names on the TV screens outside of the hall, and to enable us to maximize this opportunity that we've been blessed with, can I ask you all to recite 3 salawats and move as far forward as possible? We're already struggling to fill at the back, so we know there's a lot of space at the front. So can we recite 3 loud salawats and come as far forward as possible? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And Allahumma Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The salawats will get louder as we practice every night. So inshallah we can move all the way forward to the front from now on as well. So before I continue, there is an opportunity to financially contribute if you can, and if you wish to do so, you can make a donation by cash or card by scanning the QR or by scanning the QR codes on the TVs outside in the foyer. To honor the marhumin of the donors, please can we have a moment of remembrance and reflection, and if you can recite a Surah Fatiha, please feel free to do so for them and all marhumin. Tomorrow night's program will also start at 8:15 with Qur'an, lecture by Dr. Imranali Panjwani, Matam, Ziyarat and Refreshments. This year's Muharram lecture series is titled The Qur'an's Morality for Contemporary Society Through the Eyes of Imam al-Husayn. alayhi salam. It's an apt topic given the political sea change across the globe and the fact that we live in society. Tonight's lecture is the first in a series and is titled Nature in the Quran and its Mystical Implications. Before our speaker takes a stand, it's always an honor to be asked to host sessions like this. One of my favorite bits is introducing the speaker. It's always nicer when you have had a chance to interact with them, and I can give them a harder time in the Q&A. Dr. Imranali Panjwani has lived and studied and worked in the UK, Middle East, Australia as an academic, a lawyer, chaplain, and community worker. He researches Islamic and Western law, focusing on interpretation of scripture, moral development, and access to justice and human rights for minority communities. Drawing upon his seminary and university studies, his work cuts across scriptural exegesis, jurisprudence, philosophy, logic, and metaphysics. By re-examining the subject of law, a critical evaluation of how laws are derived from religious and non-religious sources can take place. This also means broadening our notions of evidence to understand other legal systems better so that dignity of minorities can be recognized. He is the head and founder of Diverse Legal Consulting, a consultancy that specializes in country expert reports on Middle East and North Africa, minority human rights, Islamic law, and the Muslim diaspora. In his spare time, he engages in interfaith dialogue in Muslim and faith communities worldwide, and he also likes playing tennis and doing charity work. That's the formal introduction. I've had the chance to attend a number of his classes and learnt a lot. I also spent some time with him, and honestly, I've taken some of the lessons away which I still use today, and maybe you'll hear some of those later in the week, and try to be a better man from them. So I know his time and presence is going to be of benefit. Can we welcome him with a loud salawat?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات please اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب صلوات please. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Pray you're all well. I thank Allah for this opportunity to give these Muharram majalis in the honor, of course, of al-Husayn alayhi salam, and ultimately remembering the message of the Qur'an. And it's a personal honor for me giving it at Al-Mahdi Institute, the place where I studied my Hausawi studies. Some of my respected teachers are here as well. And I want to thank the Institute, Sheikh Arif, and my colleagues, some of them who are sitting here. Allah bless you all. It's a deep honor because a long time ago, when we were studying, we were at 532 Mosley Road. And to see this very beautiful place is such an achievement by all the people who work here. And so may Allah bless this Hausa and indeed all places of learning. Salawat, please. I know that Adam gave this introduction and all that, which you may have got from the internet. I think I'm just going to remove all that. That's for academic purposes. And if my wife was here, she would tell you the real person of me. So it's opposite to that. So, and we all learn from each other, okay? The topic, as was advertised, is about the Qur'an's paradigm of morality, and specifically the spiritual and metaphysical experience of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And indeed that of al-Husayn alayhi salam. And I want to go slowly and hopefully keep you interested. So I know I meant to speak till 9:15, but I'm going to ask you when you're tired, okay? And I will try to engage with you as much as possible, like Q&A or have discussion with young people, old people as well, okay? Now, the reason for choosing this topic, and to make it very clear for all of you, is our beloved Hussein alayhi salam, as he's leaving Medina to Mecca and then to other places until he reaches Karbala, he actually recites verses of the Qur'an throughout his journey. And you will find this in Tariq al-Tabari, Maqtal al-Husayn by Khwarizmi, for example, Kitab al-Irshad. Whatever sources we have, as much as we can rely on them, you will find the Imam reciting the Qur'an, in my small view, for two reasons. Now, there may be other reasons, but definitely two. Number one is to give himself strength, motivation, comfort through reciting verses of the Qur'an at a time when he did feel fear, distress, worry, and anxiety, right? And I'm using these words very specifically because perhaps in communities, perhaps when we have grown up, we have not examined the natural human dimensions of prophets and imams and what they go through. The Imam Hussein that was before Karbala and the Imam Hussein that was after, I mean, which one is greater? Was there a development in his character? Now, logically, one would say yes. I mean, he's made this sacrifice in standing up to Yazid ibn Muawiyah. For why? For the fact that the basic morality and decency which the Prophet left and which is there in the Quran had already begun to be corrupted previously by Muawiyah and then Yazid. So we have to remember that there is a personal development and decision making by the Imam as he is saying, I refuse to give allegiance to Yazid ibn Muawiyah. He says that to Walid ibn Utbah, for example, the governor of Medina, and to several others that pressurize him, look, take the easy way out, just give bay'ah. You can still be the Imam, but just give allegiance. So I'm beginning with a very simple point, and I'm trying to reach all ages, which is when we are talking about following a spiritual personality or moral personality, we have to go as deep as possible to their internal motivations, desires, what they were worried about, and why they made decisions. Otherwise, and especially when I'm discussing with my wife or children, I don't think there's any reason, to be very honest with you, in following any spiritual personality. If we, and I think to a degree we have done this in communities, if we're going to hold prophets and imams to such a high level that is even beyond the Quran, by the way, and make them in terms of angels or ascribe superhuman characteristics to them, not taking away their blessed achievements, then we cannot learn from them because Allah should have just sent down an angel. And I will show that very specifically. But the other reason for Imam Hussein reciting verses of the Quran was also to show why he refused to give allegiance to Yazid ibn Muawiyah, who was on guidance, on hudan, who was dalal. What do these terms mean? What happens when people don't, for example, follow the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or respect him? Why is he making a distinction between those who are on the path of guidance and those who are going astray? See, I mean, yes, I grew up as a Shia Muslim. Fine, okay, no problem. My dear father and mother, took me to mosque every Thursday. Allah bless them, okay? With my wife and children, yes, we go, we participate, whatever it is. At the end of the day, what is the difference between any of us? Between a Shia Muslim, a fellow Sunni brother, a Christian, a Jew, a non-Muslim? I mean, the message of Al-Husayn alayhi salam is, we often say, universal message. And if you look very carefully, when we say universal message, we must mean it. Because there were people like Wahab and Haniya who joined the caravan of Al-Husayn alayhi salam, but they were Christians. There were slaves. There were people who were poor. There were, take Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, who was on the side of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, right? So in Kitab al-Irshad, when he says, I find myself between heaven and hell, and I will not prefer anything at all, to heaven, unless, even if I'm cut to pieces. When he's saying these things, what decision is he making? Is he making a decision as a Muslim? Is he making a decision as a human being? Is he making a decision that any person can make, regardless of the religious background, that you think that every person has this godliness and morality, that they can always make the right, just decision in their life to bring them closer to righteousness? So this is why I'm trying, hopefully, to be clear that the Qur'an is the foundation of Karbala, and perhaps we don't examine it enough, or we don't examine or analyze Karbala through the Qur'an and through Rasulullah. Salawat, please. Have I been clear, everybody? Please tell me if I haven't. Yes, you can say no, it's perfectly fine, and I'll correct myself. Okay, I'm treating you like just class, I'll try to be interactive, I don't need to be bored, okay? Number two, all right, is that I mentioned the Quran, and I mentioned morality, I mentioned Imam Hussein. I want to mention our beloved Prophet, right? For me, at least, the last few years, I have been trying to read the Quran in the way that it was revealed, not in the way it was compiled, right? So you all know, when you open the Quran, you have Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Imran, Surah Al-Nisa, etc. But hopefully, and I think you all know this, that the Quran was not revealed like that, okay? So, I was going to ask some youngsters or sisters, just to make it interactive. What were the first verses revealed in the Quran? Anybody know? Sorry? Yes, Ikra. Yes, Ikra. Or Surah Al-Alaq. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ikra. Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Sorry, Alaq. So, recite in the name of your Lord who created. Khalaq, sorry. These initial verses, and 90% or more, say that it was the first 5 ayat of Surah Al-Alaq, right? And then you find not the whole surah revealed, the whole of Surah Al-Alaq wasn't revealed. You then find some verses of Surah Al-Qalam revealed. And again, not the whole of Surah Al-Qalam, right? Then you find some verses of Surah Al-Mudaththir revealed, right? Or Surah Al-Muzammil. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because people often say that the Quran is a very difficult book to read. We may not understand Arabic, or when I open it, I don't know where to start. I'm opening Surah Al-Fatiha, I'm opening Surah Al-Baqarah, and then, the messages change. Allah is talking about the people of Musa alayhi salam, and then he's talking about something else, and then he's talking about contracts, let's say at the end of Surah Al-Baqarah. So, I think that is a valid point, and I sympathize, because we want something easy to read. And one beautiful thing about the Quran, which is in fact the legacy of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, is that according to the ahadith that I have read in our classical sources, that he did compile a mushaf, okay, or a codex, or a copy of the Quran, that indeed was in the order of revelation, in the way that it was revealed to our beloved Prophet, with the asbabun nuzul, or the circumstances of revelation, and with a sharh or commentary also with it. Now, this Musaf has been lost, although a few try to claim that we have it in, I think, in Turkey, or maybe people have tried, I think, to reconstruct it. But the fact that we do have in history this kind of codex, and there were, by the way, different copies of Qur'an, of Ibn Mas'ud and others. So people compile different versions of the Qur'an. And when I'm saying the order of revelation, why is it important? Why am I mentioning Imam Ali? Because he clearly believed it was something important to look at the chronology. Our own scholars, okay, Ayatollah Hadi Ma'rifa, Marhum, in Talkhis al-Tamheed, also mentions this in volume 1. He talks about this Mus'haf, and he has a list of how these surahs were revealed. And you will find other books about this. Allama Tabatabai Rahmatullahi alayhi also says this. So what I'm saying is isn't anything new, all right? But I'm saying it for one very important reason. If we can read the Quran, and you will find the list on the internet, the way it was revealed, we can appreciate the personal, moral, and spiritual experience of Rasulullah himself. We can see what was he feeling when verses were revealed to him. Simple questions. I'll give you a very simple point, all right? And I presented a paper here last year, which I'm not going to go into that technical thing, but why is Salatul Layl revealed? Maybe anybody can. Why do you think Salatul Layl is revealed? Anybody? Anybody know why Salatul Layl is revealed? For thawab, yes? It's the aftermath. To get lots of thawab at night. Anybody know? Or just... My dear teachers and colleagues would know. They are exempt, of course. They're mashallah knowledgeable. But any just have a guess. Why do you think Salatul Layl was revealed? Anybody know? You don't want me to ask questions. I'm putting you on the spot. Is that good or bad? Tell me. I don't want to make you come from Muharram Majlis. I don't want to have stress. Yes? So, mashallah, very good. Your name, brother? I forgot. Muhammad. So, mashallah, salawat for Muhammad, please. So, it's a very good point that you mentioned. Yes, the Prophet was distressed. He was anxious. He was worried. That's why Salatul Layl was revealed. It was the Salah was revealed to the Prophet. It wasn't revealed to us. Ya ayyuhal muzammil, qum min layla illa qalila. O cloaked or wrapped up one, stand in the night except a little. I know maybe you've heard from the mimbar or you read from books, people pray Salatul Layl, you'll get thawab. You can't say, no, it was revealed to the Prophet. It's a small joke. But anyway, that's true. It was revealed to the Prophet. It was revealed to the Prophet for his personal circumstances and worry. So that in the night, Allah could comfort him through this prayer, and he could gain guidance and wisdom and strength to combat the verbal and physical abuse that he was suffering. And he was suffering that. In Surah Al-Qalam, it is openly mentioned. In Surah Al-Alaq, before that, Walid ibn Mughira, the chief of the tribe of Makhzum, okay, a wealthy man, used to physically and verbally abuse him. Same thing with Abu Lahab. He, when he was trying to preach La ilaha illallah, when he was trying to guide people, he found it difficult because all of those words and that physical abuse was encapsulating him. It's like if you are bullied, right? If somebody is constantly, trying to put you down, trying to ostracize you. You may have experienced with a school, work, community. How do you feel? Your thoughts are fully about that person. Why is that person doing something to me? How can I do something against him, or I should not do something against him? I have to be patient, always wrestling. And Allah is saying, look, do not worry yourself with them. He actually tells the Prophet in Surah Al-Muzammil, have patience with them, a beautiful patience. You ask, where does Rasulullah's sabr come? This I'm, again, slowly, I'm not giving you everything now. This patience doesn't come automatically. It comes through a personal process and trial and error from the Prophet in order to develop his nafs as close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, just from the very small that I've given you, doesn't that make sense? And doesn't that make us say, well, how should I learn from Rasulullah? How should I pray Salatul Layl? How much should I pray of it? And in fact, what kind of challenges did the Prophet go through that I can apply in my life? Now, I'm giving you a very small insight because I want to humbly develop this. But if we look at the revelation this way, it makes more sense to us because we understand why certain obligations came, how the Prophet made decisions, and then inshallah how Imam Hussein alayhi salam made decisions. Salawat, please. Does that interest you? Yes. Anybody say no? I'll change my topic. Inshallah, let's take a risk. I'm being honest with you really because I don't want to bore you. And two, is the pace okay? Like you think I'm being clear and everything, yes? Okay, fine. Okay, good. Number three, what example can I give of the Quran with reference to Imam Hussein? I've given of the Prophet. Let me give of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as he is departing Medina, he recites the following verse of the Quran, which is from Surah Al-Qasas, I think verse 23. And this is referenced in Maqtal al-Husayn by Khwarizmi and Kitab al-Irshad. Okay? He says the following, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ قَالَ رَبِّي نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Our beloved Hussein alayhi salam says that so he went forth, or he exited from it, that is from the city, fearfully, khaifan, he's fearing what is happening. And he prayed, I'll give a reference to who this is, and he prayed, Ya Rabbi, my sustainer, my cherisher, my nurturer, save me from the evil doing or unjust people. So Imam Hussein, as he's leaving Medina, is saying this verse, saying, Allah save me from these unjust people, right? Now you see in the verse, Qala, he said. Who is this in reference to? Who is Imam Hussein quoting when he's saying the Quran? He's quoting about the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Musa alayhi salam. In Surah Al-Qasas, if you read from the beginning to the middle portion, the story is about Prophet Musa alayhi salam having an altercation with someone that not only was his enemy, but was an enemy of someone else. And he saw two people fighting. One was the follower of Musa alayhi salam, and the other was not. As these two people are fighting, the follower of Musa alayhi salam is saying, help me. Musa, and it appears from the Quran that he's quite a strong prophet, right? So if you are having muscles, do it in the way of Allah and it's fine, it's good, right? Okay, but Prophet Musa being a strong prophet, he kills the person, right? He kills the person. And then he says, ظَلَمْتُ nafsi. He says, I have wronged myself. And he says, this is amalu shaitan. He actually says that. You can read the surah. He says, this is a work of shaitan. Now we will go into, inshallah, tomorrow and day after, this journey of Rasulullah, the limitations, Whether you class these things as sin or not, inshallah, we'll go into that, okay? But Imam Hussein is quoting this verse. Now, Prophet Musa alayhi salam, once he kills the person, what does he do? He actually fears, because some of his followers say, look, the people of the city, the elites of the city are now going to kill you. So now he wants to escape from the city. And as he's escaping from the city, he says, Dalamtu nafsi, I have wronged myself. And he's now asking Allah for a way out. Najjini, save me. The parallel is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, though he has not had an altercation with someone, he has had a dispute with Walid ibn Utbah and with the people in Medina, and he is refusing to give allegiance to Yazid. So, when he refuses to give allegiance, well, Imam Hussein is also now fearing. He's fearing what is going to happen to him and his family. And he has nobody to turn to except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he recites this verse. Reciting this verse is to give him strength at a time of need, at a time of his limitation, worry, and distress. And if you want to just take this, you can clearly say that no, Imam Hussein didn't know what was going to happen to him. Imam Hussein feared for himself and feared for his family. He did, because otherwise this verse doesn't make any sense. But it is very beautiful, because it is teaching us that instead of cursing someone, instead of doing something drastic, we remain to our principle of justice and we're asking Allah to help. We pursue our means rationally and as best we can, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. That's the beautiful spiritual message. It's what I have to learn from. Shall we all learn from it? But what it tells us is, had it not been for the reflection of al-Husayn on these verses of the Qur'an, and the Prophet leaving this Qur'an with us, well, perhaps Imam Hussein would not have been able to gain that strength. So you see the power of the Qur'an, not just for Imam Hussein, but for us today. Salawat, please. In fact, he actually says, in these historical reports, he says, no, by Allah, I will not deviate from it, the route that I have taken, until Allah shall determine what He judges. So you also see the personal effort of Imam Hussein, the personal decision that he has to say. It's not just Allah guiding him everywhere. He is making the decision, and then he's seeing what kind of routes are available. Now, I've given you this insight. As I said, the title of the lecture is the morality of the Quran. Hopefully you can see it coming into fruition. You can see the Imam Hussein relying on the Quran, but also the principles he's obtaining. Number two, the way, inshallah, we will look at the Quran is, as I said, in the order of revelation. I want to make a second point here. Okay, salawat, please. Now, traditionally, when scholars want to understand the Quran, they divide the understanding of the Quran in two ways. They say, for example, that if you want to understand why a verse was revealed, then you should say that that is the asbabun nuzul, the circumstances of revelation. Okay? And one simple example is, why did Rasulullah change the Qibla from Baytul Muqaddas or Maqdis to Masjid al-Haram or Kaaba? Why did he change the Qibla? Because he was praying with the Jews before the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, I think verse 115 or 240, these verses are about that episode, that he changed the Qibla in the afternoon prayer midway. Okay, why did he change it? Well, there are various circumstances for that. One is to distinguish himself and the message that he was bringing from the Torah, which according to the Prophet had been corrupted or people were not practicing it correctly. Another was that people were not accepting him as a prophet or disputing with him. And therefore, the change in the Qibla signaled the beginning of that Muslim community and the correction of the revelation. Okay? That is one way to look at the Quran. Another is Sha'an Nuzul. And Sha'an Nuzul, according to Ayatul Hadi Ma'rifah, is what? To clarify or explain a verse or surah, such as stories and information of past peoples and ancient nations, and the situations of earlier prophets. We will deal with this. In these lectures, we will deal with the people of Ad and Thamud. Now, the reason I've said this to you is because in my humble research, what I am trying to do is look at, perhaps what I am trying to say is suluk nuzul, the way, the manner of the personality and decisions and motivations and psychology of Rasulullah as the verses are coming down to him. Why Salatul Layl and not something else? And if the Prophet didn't feel distress, maybe we wouldn't have Salatul Layl at all. And we wouldn't hear from the mimbar praise Salatul Layl, and we would be happy. No need for an extra mustahab of many mustahabs that we have, for example. Okay? But you can see that this was revealed to Rasulullah. So if the Prophet doesn't have an experience, well, maybe a verse would change. Salatul Layl was the first prayer to be revealed in Islam, the first prayer, and it was a wajib prayer. The 5 daily prayers were not revealed at that point. There were no 5 prayers. There was just Salatul Layl. And according to Mufassirun, people prayed it for 1 year, or 3 years, or 10 years. And then the Salawatul Yawmiyah, the 5 daily prayers came. There was no 5 daily prayers in those periods at all. None. So you think, oh, so why can't we just pray Salatul Layl? Why can't we pray Salatul Layl now then? Do you see my point here? I'm not removing the 5 prayers. I'm trying to tell you why something was revealed in the way it was revealed to the Prophet to answer his personal issue. And then the Prophet tried to extend that to the community through trial and error, by the way. He tried to do that. Okay? If we look at the Quran like that, what is happening? Well, not only do we get closer to the spiritual experience of the Prophet, which we're going to go into just now with nature, but we have greater control over our own spiritual experience. Why are we doing something? Am I doing an obligation or a mustahab for the sake of it? Because that's the communal practice? Have I come to this majlis? Why have I come? Why am I engaging in azadari? What is it doing from my heart? That's the question we need to answer. And our beloved Prophet allowed people to ask that question for themselves. In fact, he allowed people to ask that question gradually over a period of time. He told people the benefits of Salatul Layl. Some did it, some didn't. Some found it difficult. And he lightened the load on people. But the most important thing, he took people in a very measured way in their journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why I said, when I say I'm a Shia Muslim or grew up in a Shia household, the first thing that I ask is, all of these things that I have been doing for many years, what is the personal positive change in me that I can say that the way I've understood religion or its practices has brought me closer to Allah since when I was 15, 20, 25, 30? Can I see a measured growth? Or if I've understood some things, have I regressed? Have I gone backwards? Are there certain sins that I have and certain bad intentions which have remained and I haven't got rid of? For me, these are the most important things. Forget everything else. Forget lectures and knowledge and his clothes, whatever it is. At the end of the day, I want to know, how did the Prophet train the people around him? Or how did al-Husayn al-Islam be so forgiving to Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi? Or for Hur to make this courageous decision to make a stand in his life, which today I would say, am I making a stand? There are people protesting. We know what is happening in Palestine, the people going out on the streets. Okay, we may give money. I don't know if we have visited Palestine. I want to, in the next few nights, I do want to share my experience of that with you. I did visit in 2022, and I want to be very honest about what I saw. Some things I don't think are captured in the media about what you see, or about fear and anxiety. You know, I know we hear about killings and bombings and statistics, of course, but to explain some personal experiences. But I think to myself that these lectures, whatever I'm doing, is this the way that the Prophet and Imam Hussein al-Islam would have wanted me to make decisions in my life as a Muslim that I call myself and I'm following them? These are the hard questions that I think we must ask ourselves in people who are living and sitting in comfort when people are suffering and being bombed around the world and people don't even have cups of water to drink. Salawat, please. Okay. Have I been clear? Yes? Okay. Salawat, please. In the last 7 minutes, I can continue for 7. Do you give me permission? Or if you're tired, tell me. I'll tell the organizers we cut the lectures a bit. I'm worried, seriously, I don't want people to go to sleep. Okay. 7, I'll try my best, okay? I'm using the tafsir of Suratul Fajr, Surah number 89 in the Quran, as a template for these lectures, okay? The reason is because in the order of revelation, so hopefully you understand my humble methodology. In the order of revelation, this is the first time in the Quran, the first time, by the way, that Allah talks about suffering and distress in the Quran. That means why people suffer and how they perceive it. First time in the order of revelation, okay? The surah also talks about the people of Ad and Thamud and how when they built cities of stone, there was fasad in those cities and there was injustice, which gives us a template to talk about injustice today. But before all that, just before all of that, and I mentioned to you about the Prophet's spiritual experience, look at the first 2 lines of the surah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Fajri walayalin ashr. That's all I'm going to say. Allah says, by the dawn, okay, which is a qasam, an oath, by the dawn and the 10 nights. Okay. If you look at Fajr and you look at the early surah of the Quran, you will find that nature is the most important symbol, I shouldn't say symbol, part of our existence that Allah swears by when introducing these surah of the Quran. Fajr, for example, or in Takwir, Washamsi Kuwirat, for example, when the sun coils up, Washamsi Wadduhaha, okay, by the sun and its brightness. You will find nature as throughout these surahs revealed in Makkah. This surah was revealed in Makkah. Why nature? Why? What's the point of it? You'll also find some other things like qalam, wal qalami, wa ma yasturun. I swear that by the pen and what they write. But nature seems to be the starting point for Allah. But why? In the tafsir that I read, and I looked at both Shia and Sunni Mufassirun, okay, nature is used because nature is something that you and I can observe and be certain of. There is a sun and there is a moon, and there is a dawn and there is a night. All of us observe it and can testify to it. Number two, not only can we testify to it, but we are to observe and understand these signs. Not only do we understand these signs as a way to get closer to Allah as ayat, okay? Ayat not just mean verses, but ayat, signs of nature, signs of world, but that our intellect can comprehend what they mean. And the Prophet himself, from the ahadith in these tafsir Qurtubi or Majmu al-Bayan and all of these great tafasir, the Prophet himself was reflecting on nature during times of revelation. We know he was going into the cave of Hira, okay, once a month or more regularly than that, less than that, I can't give a number, but we know he was frequenting cave of Hira in Sirat al-Nabawiyah. And it appears that reflection and meditation on the signs, okay, around him was crucial for him to receive these particular verses, right? So that leads us to another question. So the Quran, therefore, isn't it also a reflection or manifestation of the Prophet's experience of nature? And had he not taken those efforts in Mecca and in the desert and looking at these things, that these verses wouldn't have been revealed? What Allah is revealing to him is also coming from his sense and reflection of what he is seeing. The Quran is coming from a part of his own soul, a part of his own reflective journey. I have a hadith which I'll share with you tomorrow about that, okay? But what I'm trying to do is tell you that our spiritual experience is dependent on the way we conduct and observe the fundamental signs Allah has given us. And whether we increase that or decrease that will yield different inspirations and insight into our own soul. And there are theories of connection of nature and spirituality. But it tells us that the Prophet's own journey was not simply Allah revealing things to him. As I began with, it was his personal decision and reflections on these signs. Salawat, please. I will give more insight into this, but before the Maktal, I just want to share with you just one hadith to maybe tie it all in. And this is a hadith about Surah Al-Takwir, just to give you an insight why nature is very important in the Quran and what it means. This is in Ma'alim al-Tanzil by al-Baghawi, okay, who died 516 AH or 1122 CE, one of the great Sunni scholars. He quotes from Rasulullah himself, "Man ahabba an yandura fi ahwal al-qiyamah falyaqra'a idha shamsu kuwirat." One who loves to contemplate on the states of Qiyamah, on resurrection, okay, so let him recite إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, meaning Surah Al-Takwir, when the sun coils up. Okay. Now I haven't shared with you other hadiths. All I'm saying is, sometimes it's hadith that we hear that you open the Quran, you get thawab. Open the Quran, and this surah is good for memory. This surah will help you learn something else. Before all of that, why this surah is connected to signs of resurrection. What really prompted that in the first place anyway? Well, if you read the surah, what is revealed to Rasulullah is about camels. Okay? Hopefully I have the verse. Yes. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ. When the camels are left untended, people don't looking after the camels. Okay, why camels? Well, it's part of Arabia, yes? This was their main transport in the Prophet society. Okay, well, today we have cars and God knows what we will have. Flying cars, I hope, like Back to the Future. It's my dream, inshallah. No, some people are too old. No, anyway. So my point is that whatever we have, right? You can just see the connection between the Prophet's experience of his society, why those verses are coming, and then suddenly why this is about Yawm al-Qiyamah. The key question is, how did it transition from camels being left untended and the sun coiling up, which is quite interesting, reversal of nature, which we'll discuss tomorrow, and this leads to signs of how did the Prophet get from his own circumstances to knowing something about resurrection? How did he get to that stage? And can we get to some kind of stage that our reflection not only gives us a greater insight into ourselves, but insight into nature and universe? How did Islamic history produce scholars that came up with inventions about astronomy and many other things? Salawat, please. Inshallah, we will continue tomorrow. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I don't know if we can just dim the lights a bit, if possible. My dear brothers and sisters, today, as we commemorate the 1st of Muharram, I want to narrate to you how our beloved Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam, as reported in Uyun al-Akhbar Rida, remembered al-Husayn alayhi salam. That means when he held a gathering or was relaying to his companions, what did he say? What should we say? He says, okay, he says, Qala ya ibn Shabib, he says, Innal Muharrama huwa ash-shahru alladhi kana ahlul jahiliyati fima madha yuharrimuna fihi adh-dhulma wal qitala li hurmati. He says, O Ibn Shabib, Muharram is the month in which the people of the age of ignorance forbade committing any oppression and fighting. But what did they do? These people, he says, they didn't recognize the honor of this month and the honor of their own prophet. He says, they killed his offspring. They enslaved the women and took their belongings as a kind of booty. Then he says, look at what he says. فَلَا غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ ذَلِكَ أَبَدًا. He says, Allah will never forgive them at all, abadan. Even years after the martyrdom of Hussein alayhi salam, just as we today are sitting here, the 8th Imam is saying, I remember, or I am recounting what was told to me, how my great grandfather was treated, that people didn't even respect their own rules in society. Today, we would not expect anybody to run through a red traffic light. In that society, you cannot kill in the month of Muharram. People would be shocked. They did not care to kill that beautiful face and the family of Al-Husayn alayhi salam. But that is not all, my dear brothers and sisters. Now he says, Ya Ibn Shabib, in kunta bakiyan li shay'in فأبكي للحسين حسين ابن علي ابن أبي طالب عليه السلام فإنه ذبح كما يذبح الكبش. He says, oh Ibn Shabib, if you want to cry for anything, then cry for Hussein. Hussein, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Indeed, he was slaughtered like a sheep is slaughtered. That means Hussein alayhi salam, alone on the plains of Karbala, is a sheep-threatening animal. Is a sheep a harmful animal? Isn't a sheep a white, beautiful animal? This is how 8th Imam describes Hussein alayhi salam. What mercy did they show to this beautiful Hussein? For what could a sheep do to other animals? What could Hussein do to anyone else except show mercy? Yet they showed no mercy on the beautiful face and body of Hussein alayhi salam. And so when Hussein alayhi salam was slaughtered, imagine when a sheep, that the wool of the sheep is covered in blood. We have not gone on to the rest of the maqtal, but this is how our 8th Imam starts recounting what happened in Karbala. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Rabbana la taj'alna ma'a qawmi dhalimin. O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you to please forgive our sins. May these gatherings and majalis be a source of improvement for all of us. May we try and help those who are unjust, who are the oppressed in the world. O Allah, please forgive the sins of our marhumin, and please, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grant your mercy on all of us. Surah Al-Fatiha, please.
Muharram Hussein.
So I've been told that inshallah every night there'll be matam in different languages. So in Arabic, Iraqis, we call it latamiya. So obviously the pace and the style is different. This is a classic recitation that went around the Iraqi community when people had to leave Iraq because when Saddam Hussein took power and they missed going back to Karbala. إلهي إن كان ما رد اللبو اليمة إلهي إن كان اللبو اليمة اخذ روحي بغياب الموت لي رحمة أنا من سنين نادي والدمع يجري إلهي بفقد أبو اليمة انكسر ظهري وذبل عودي خلصت روحي وخلص صبري اشبق بعمري وش اللي بعمري اتخذ عمري، ترى الفاقد حبيب الموت ما يهم. إلهي وكل شخص من يفقد أحبابه تزور الناس وتواسيه بمصابه، وتذكر بيوم ابو السجاد وصوابه، لكن والدمعيته على حسين هماله، وبيش الوادي متواسيه وش يتكلمه، شيقل لي بفقد ابو اليمه اللي يواسيني، أشوعنا بغيابته مثل عيني، ويا ابو اليمه اشكي طاع ما بينك وبيني، ويا ابو اليمه وعسى لا طالت سنيني، ويا ابو اليمه بغيابك ماتت البسمه، بغيابك ماتت البسمه على شفافي، وحملت هموم هجرانك على اجتافي، وياني محبيتك يا ابو قلب صافي، مو كافي مو كافي البعد يا حسين مو كافي، أنا بفرقك أعمى وتايه بظلمه، أنا بفرقك أعمى وتايه بظلمه. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, milki momino, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. ए चांद मुहर्रम के तू बदली में चला जा, ऐ चांद मुहर्रम के तू बदली में चला जा, ऐ चांद मुहर्रम के तू बदली में चला जा, तुझे देख के मर जाए ना, तुझे देख के मर जाए ना, बीमार है सुगरा, اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، گھر زہرا کا لٹنے کی خبر تو نے سنائی، تجھے دیکھ کے روتی ہے محرم میں خدائی، 1400 برس بیتے، 1400 برس بیتے، سب کرتے ہیں شکوہ، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، ملنے کے لیے بھائی کو بے چین پڑی ہے، کب سے علی اکبر کی یہ راہوں میں کھڑی ہے، بچھڑی ہے یہ مدت سے، بچھڑی ہے یہ مدت سے، اسے تو نہ نظر آ، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، گن گن کے جو سغرا نے یہ دن ایسے گزارے، زندہ ہے تو اکبر کے وعدوں کے سہارے، دن رات تڑپتی ہے، دن رات تڑپتی ہے، اسے اور نہ تڑپا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، رونے نہیں دیتے مجھے راتوں کو مسلمان، بیماری سے بے حال ہوں کچھ روز کی مہمان، ہر سمت سے ہے مجھ کو، ہر سمت سے ہے مجھ کو اب موت نے گھیرا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا، اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا. سورة المباركة الفاتحة. توجه زيارة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين يا سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا أئمة البقي، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا يا أبا الفضل العباس وأختك زينب وبنتك سكينة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلطان أبا الحسن مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله